Okay, so hi everyone. In this video we're going to be doing graphing linear equations as well as calculating slope. So this is mostly for college algebra if you want to. So this is not, I'm kind of taking a break from pre-calculus and going on to college algebra just because I know that a lot of people they struggle with algebra. I know I had a friend in college who struggled with algebra, and I'm completely skipping the polar coordinates part of pre-calculus just because, I don't know, I think it's extremely difficult for me, and I don't have a full grasp on how to do that. So we're gonna do graphing linear equations. So a linear equation is of the form y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. So let's say you have, so it would be y equals mx plus b, and this is your y coordinate, this is your x coordinate. Usually they're not, you wouldn't put them on here, but, and then this part right here is your slope, and then this part right here is your y-intercept. So you basically, so let's do a little quick exercise on if it's a linear equation or if it's not. So for example, let's say we have something like y equals, so I'm gonna write a few. So give me a second. So for this one, this is a linear equation because it has a slope of 1 and a y-intercept of -3. This one is also a linear equation because it has a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of -5. This one is not a linear equation because it's not, this is most likely it's a parabola, and if you don't know what that is, you'll learn it later, but it's basically, it's not of the form y equals mx plus b. So this is not a linear equation. This one is not a linear equation. Because it has absolute value symbols. And linear equations usually do not have absolute value symbols. I mean, this does have a slope, but it's not the correct way to write a linear equation. This is an absolute value equation. So because it has these two things right here. And then this one, well, this one, yes, because it has a slope of 3 and a y-intercept of -2. So, now that we've covered that, we want to make sure that we do, we're going to do some exercises on graphing them. So, let's see, let me try to draw a coordinate plane. So you have, this is y, and then this is x. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. And then this one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is going to be -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay, so let's say we want to graph an equation. So let's say we want to do, so let me look at the examples really quick. So, actually, let me do these first. So, let's say that we have 0, 0, so 0, 0, and then 2, 4. Let's say that we want to find the slope of those. So one of the things that you need to learn is the slope between 2 points. So you have let's see, so you have x1, y1, and then you also have x2, y2. So in a linear equation, give me a second, guys. So in a linear equation, you have, there's usually 2 points, and the way that you find the slope is if you have 2 points. So the slope is basically, it's not the distance, but it is basically how much you're going up by in y and how much you're going by in x. So like if I have a point right here and a point right here, I would be going up 1 and right 2. Or up 1 and right 1. So that's what slope is. It's basically the slope, and I think there's a picture in here. Give me a second. So the slope so yes, like right here. So you would say over 2 and up 1, or you would say rise over run. You know, and then the slope. So the m is also the change in y over the change in x, and that is like rise over run. So let's say that we had one of the things that you have to remember is that is a formula that, so let's say that we had a point at 0, 0 and a point at 2, 4. So this is going to be 0, 0 and 2, 4, and we want to find the slope. So what you would do is you would say let's see, you would say rise over run. So right here, you would say how much did you rise by to get up to here. So you would say 1, 2, 3, 4. So you went up 4, and then again you went 1, 2, and right 2. So your slope, this is right 2 units. So your slope would be rise over run. So you would say 4 divided by 2, and it would be 2. So another way to do it is if you say the slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and that is if you have, so let's do an example. So if you have something like 1 let's say that you have something like, without even looking at the graph, you know, let's say that you have something like 1, 1 and 3, 4. Of course, the way that you would do it is you would kind of sketch it a little bit. So you would say this is 1, 1, and then if you want to go ahead and do 2 more and then 3 more right here, you would say that this is 3, 4. The main thing to know what is x1 and what is y1 is you have to go from left to right. So x1, y1 will be at the very left of your graph. And then x2, y2 will be at the right. So right here, for example, if we look at the very left, we can see a point that is right here, 1, comma 1. So this would be your x1, y1. And then at the very right, which is over here, we see that our point is x2, y2. So now that we have our points, we say that this is 1, comma 1, and this is 3, comma 4. So this would be x1, y1, this would be x2, y2. And our slope, according to this, is, give me a second, so you have x1, and then y1, and then you have x2, and then y2. Hold on. So then you would say that the slope would be 4 minus 1 divided by 3 minus 1. So then you would say that the slope would be 3 over 2. And that's how you find slope with just being given 2 points. So next what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and graph a linear equation. So give me a second. So I'm gonna try to draw a graph really quick. So I'm gonna do a really easy one first. So oops. Sorry guys, I'm trying to draw, hold on. So let's say that you want to do something like, let me see, give me a second. So this is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. I'll just go up to -6. And then this one, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what you do is you go ahead and say, so let's say we want to graph y equals x minus 3. You can do one of two things. If you're not good at, if you're barely learning and you're not good at graphing linear equations, what you can do is you can make an xy table. You can say So you can say -6, -5, -4. Let me make it, try to make it another one. So if you're not good at graphing linear equations, you can always do, so for example, for -6, if you plug in -6, how much is that? That's going to be -9. If you do -5 minus 3, -8. If you do -4 minus 3 is going to be -7. If you do -3 minus 3 is going to be -6. And then if you do hold on. So if you do y equals -2 minus 3 is going to be -5. Y equals -1 minus 3 is -4. Y equals 0 minus 3, -3. Y equals 1 minus 3. Okay. -2. Sorry, that was my dad getting my charger. So you do y equals 2 minus 3, you get -1, and then y equals 3 minus 3, you get 0. Y equals 4 minus 3, you get 1. So now that we have a couple points, so now that we have these points, we can go ahead and plot them. So we say -6, -9, obviously it's too short. So we're gonna do the ones that are actually on the graph. So let's do this one, this one, this one. So we have -3, -6, -3, -6, -2, -5, -1, -4, 0, -3, 1, -2, 2, -1, 3, 0, 4, 1, 5, 2, and 6, 3. And then what you would do is you would go ahead and make a line, a straight line through the points. And that's how you would graph a linear equation, using a table, of course. Now let's say I wanted to graph a linear equation without using a table. So let me do the same one, or actually let me do a different one, just to make it a little bit more complicated. So let's say I wanted to do y equals, let's say I wanted to do y equals 2x minus 4. So what you would do, or let me see if there's another example in here. Hold on, guys. So let's do y equals 3x minus 1 instead. So y equals 3x minus 1. So the way that you would do it is you would say So you have to know what your y-intercept is. The y-intercept is where x equals 0. So you would do 3 times 0 minus 1, 0 minus 1, which is negative 1. So your y-intercept is negative 1. So you would plot the point 0, negative 1. And then what you would do for your slope, remember that m equals 3 and m equals rise over run. So you would go up 3, so m would be 3 over 1. So you would rise 3 and run 1. So it would be rise, so you would say 1, 2, 3, 1, and then again 1, 2, 3, 1, and then obviously it's already done with that part, so you would do it for this part, you would do, and then instead of going up 3, since you have you know, you would go down 3, so it's the same as saying up 3 and up 1, or down 3 and down 1. So you would say 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, and then obviously it's already done. So what you would do now, I mean obviously it's over here, but it would be 1, 2, 3, 1. So now that you're done with that, you can go ahead and trace the line. So you would say it would be something like this. So, oops. So this is how you would do it. So this is how you would do it. This is basically how it's done, and then you're basically done with graphing. Some people like to just do 2 points and then trace it. You can do that, but if you really want to make it look really good, I know for me, I like to make my graphs look good just so that the teacher could grade it right. But I know some people, they would just plot 2 points and then trace it. I mean, I guess that's fine if you want to do that, to make it quicker. But I always like to make sure that my points are all graphed. So, okay, so let's see, what else is there that I can cover? There's also point slope form, which basically says, so there's also point slope form, so let me go ahead and so let's say I had, so basically one thing that you want to do, so there's also point slope form, which says that y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And the way that they get this is they get it from the slope formula. So what they do is they say m equals, so we know that m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. What they do is they so now if you take this out, you say y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And that's how they get it from that formula. So an equation, so let's say that we had the points 2, 3, and I don't know, like 5, 6. And we want to write a slope. Give me a second. We want to write a formula that says, between these 2 points. Sorry, guys, give me a second. I have to connect my laptop. So you want to write a formula that's between these 2 points, and so then we say this is, so what I'd like to do for this is I like to draw a little coordinate plane, and I like to say, okay, if you know how to plot points, you know that 2, 3 is right here, and then 5, 6 is right here. And remember what I said about looking between x1, y1, and x2, y2. x1, y1 is at the very left. x2, y2 is at the very right. So that means that 2, 3 would be your x1, y1, and 5, 6 would be x2, y2. So then you would have, then you can go ahead and find your slope. So then you have m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And remember, this is this is point slope. Point slope form. So you want to go ahead and find, we have our y1. So right now we have our y1 and our x1. So right now what we have, if we were to write it right now, we have y minus 3 equals m times x minus 2. So we don't have our m, so that's what we want to find. So we have y2 minus y1, so we would say 6 minus 3 divided by 5 minus 2. So then it would be 3 over 3, and then it would be 1. So now we can go ahead and say y minus 3 equals 1 times x minus 2. So since anything times 1 is the statement itself, we can just say y minus 3 equals x minus 2. And this would be, and this would be how you would write it in point slope form. Now if you want to write it in y-intercept form, or in slope-intercept form, you would say, y minus 3 equals x minus 2. Hold on. So you would say y minus 3 equals x minus 2, and then you would go ahead and add 3 on each side, giving you y equals x plus 1. And this would be your slope-intercept form. So, let's see what else there is available. Oops, my bad. So we're not going to do average rate of change yet until we learn how to do these. So give me a second. I'm trying to see if they have like how to write an equation given a point and so let's say that we have a problem that says slope is 3, or no, we have a problem says slope is 3 and then passes through three, 2. So what you would do is you can do this two ways. Number one, you can say y equals mx plus b method, or number two, point slope method. So you would say this is which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So you would say, so let's try to first do it in the point slope way, or in the slope intercept way. So our m is 3, and it passes through (3, 2). So we would say y equals 3x plus b. And the way that we can do this, we have an x and a y. So we can say 2 equals 3 times 3 plus b. So we can say 2 equals 9 plus b. And then 2 minus 9 is -7. So then -7 would equal b. And then you can go ahead and write it now. So then you have y would be 3x minus 7. Now let's do it the point slope way. Or yeah, let's point slope way. So m equals 3. This is going to be m equals 3, and then it passes through 3, 2. So you have, this is going to be a point, so we can say this is x1, y1. Since we don't have another point, we can say that this is x1, y1. Unless we had another point, then we would draw a graph, and then we would see between which would be x1, y1 and which would be x2, y2, but this is x1, y1, so we can say y minus 2 equals, and we already have our m, so we say 3 times x minus 3. And then you go ahead and simplify it. I mean, usually depends on whether or not they want it in slope-intercept or point slope. If they want it in point slope, you can. If they want it in point slope, you would only leave it like this. If they want it in point slope. If they want it in slope-intercept, you would simplify that. So you would say y equals 3x minus 7, and that's how you would do it. So, yes, I think that, and if you have and then remember that the y-intercept, hold on. So the y-intercept is not a number, and your x-intercept is not a number. It's a coordinate. So you would say, so like if I have, and then the y-intercept would be of the form 0, b, and then the x-intercept would be x, 0, or if you want to say 0, y. So yeah, that's basically, a lot of people say that when they say find the y-intercept, they mostly mistake it for saying like, oh, y equals 3, but it's really a coordinate. It's not a point. It's not a coordinate point. It's an actual coordinate. So that's basically another thing I wanted to cover. But yeah, I hope that this kind of helps in a way with graphing and with knowing how to do, learning how to graph linear functions. In the next video, we're probably going to be doing